4 years, for the 5 years, we are running the PhD program also. So even
Great.
PhD program we have here. And even at present, PhD interview is going on. Even I think today online exam is done, and Monday will be the interview for this
Good
academic
evening,
year.
everyone. Good evening. Myself, Dr. Vinod Kaushik, on the behalf of IP India Digital Team, just welcome you all. And today, the topic of webinar is ethical research in physiotherapy during COVID-19 pandemic by Dr. Asir John Samuel, sir. And this webinar is organized by Delhi IAP branch. And I just showed my gratitude towards Dr. Sanjeev K. Jha, IAP President, and Dr. Ruchi Vasme, IAP Women's and National Head, for providing us this wonderful platform for sharing their knowledge. And I will just now move on to Dr. Dr. Asif, our moderator. Please, sir, carry on.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Dr. Thank you so much, Dr. Vinod Kaushik, sir. Hello, everyone. I, Dr. Muhammad Asif, Assistant Professor at Banarsi Das Chandiwala Institute of Physiotherapy. On behalf of DIAP, I would like to welcome you all today for our webinar and enlighten us on topic ethical research in physiotherapy during COVID-19 pandemics. Today, this task of introducing our guest of honor and speaker is a great privilege. He is a man of virtue and simplicity. I feel elated to introduce him to everyone today. We have with us Dr. Asir John Samuel. He is a neuro and pediatric physiotherapist, having more than 9 years of experience. He is presently working in University, Haryana as associate professor. He has completed his PhD in physiotherapy from University, Haryana. He is also author of a book and numerous researches in various international journals. He is also has a patent of tactile sensory cube and cerebral palsy bed. Our guest has inspired various physiotherapists with his knowledge as lecturer and a resource person in numerous conferences and workshops all over India. Now I would like Dr. Asir John Samuel to take over the session and enlighten us with his words. Up to you, Dr. Asir, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Asif sir, for this wonderful introduction. And I feel humbled and thank you for the IFP Delhi to providing this opportunity. And I hope this uh, topic will be a eye opener or might be make us to realize what are the ethical practice we are doing in research. And with this small thanks, actually thanks is not small, thank itself a immeasurable one. And I thank all the people who believe in me such that I can take this topic to the student as well as the faculty member to their mind. And with this, we'll start with the topic. And most of the ethical research happening in physiotherapy is happening as ethical or not. That we will be discussing at the end of the few slides only. First, few part of the content of the presentation or the webinar will be based on the unethical practice happened. It is not related. We cannot separate physiotherapy from the medical or the human bio medical research. So first, we will discuss what are the unethical practice happen from the history. Then what are the things we can do to avoid such thing, and what are the unethical things happening at present, and how we can avoid, and what are the solution for that. So with this, we will go into the today's webinar. I think why we do research. So this, if some one has attended my lecture before, so they may know the answer. And this is that the what are the topic or what are the points we are discussing here. This already we have taken from the research. So this is also taken from the survey, and people say they want to become famous. I think everyone will agree with that. If you want to become famous, then you do research. And I think one might want to get rich. Yes, you do research and you can get rich. Because at present, most of the place, the the promotion as well as the funding, and you want to pursue your PhD with funded a grant from the agency, then you should have some basic knowledge of research. Then your PhD would be funded. And even the principal investigator can take the grant and they can recruit a research assistant and associate under them. So for that, you need some basic research. So thereby you can get rich, and even the principal investigator will get at least a minimum of 30,000 in addition to their salary. They get if they get fund from the national or other agencies. And one might want to get a free trip. I think you will agree with that. When you send a proposal or abstract to the international conferences or other standard association, sometimes they will welcome you with a free fare, or you can get the reimbursement, either one-side fare as well as the staying and the registration. So you need research. So one might want to answer question about the diagnosis of treatment. So this might be the at last option. See as the older. So you, and even one might want to help patients, and one might want to discover something new. Actually, it should be in the reverse way, but people priority are based on the survey. They want to become famous. You want to become famous. You want to be not in the present generation, or to be live in the community, research community forever. Do research and make a food imprint. And when did the first research happen? So you may think with the unethical. Yes, we'll go into the ethical aspect, then how we can avoid it. So for the impact of this slide is research is not happened 500 years before, or 1000, 3000 years before, or some 2000, or from the some BC. I think you might know about the picture. This is also my favorite slide. I cannot avoid this. The first research is, I think now you may guess it, the first research is done by Adam and Eve when they came to the earth. So what type of research they done? Initially they done observational study. Then they done experimental study, and the rest is history. So this is from the mythology. So even the main reason for adding this slide is research is not started recently, or some 500 or some BC. When the first mankind come to the earth, research is there. So we should be expert in knowing about the each and every nook and corner of the research. So when the first mankind come to the world, research is there, and we should have become expert in doing the research. But at the same time, when we are trying to do research, some unethical things still occur. We'll go to the history. So from history, we'll learn, and you may think the topic is the ethical research in physiotherapy during COVID-19 era. So we'll see how we are deviating from that. We are learning from the past, but whether we are following, or how we can adapt to that. So I think during the Second World War, before the Second World War, what are things happened? You may know about him, Hitler. During the end of First World War, German became superpower, 1914 to 1918, and all the war victims were captured by the Germans. So they used them for the research, which is unethical. The unethical started, the documented unethical started from there. So the Nazis' war crimes, they started experimenting on them. Actually, what Hitler would have done, the war crime should have hanged, or according to put to life imprisonment. So Hitler declared, why we want to kill them without having any impact on mankind. So they done a mistake. So they should be killed. But before that, let use for our experiment. And even Hitler's idea is very unique. If the person is fit, then they fit to live. If he is physically fit and mentally fit, then he can live. The child who born with cerebral palsy, or any disabled child, is not fit to live in the world. So Hitler uh, have put a rule: the person to be hanged to death or executed. And even he made a uniqueness. The people who have the BMI, ideal BMI, the person can live. People who have BMI is more than the certain range or under, the person to be come to the normal BMI within 6 months. If not, the person to be killed. Yeah, he wants German to be the fittest person in the world, or all the German citizen. So that is Hitler aim. And he used the people who are mentally, physically disabled, homosexuals, gypsies, and other war crimes in their experiment. And he brainwashed the German doctors. I think you might be aware about healing. So they were told, you are not doing healing, you are healing by killing. And they were made to forgot their Hippocrates oath. So Hitler is a great dictator as well as the orator. He brainwashed the doctors and made them do unethical practice. What they have done? They done nearly 16, which is documented, and many more which is not documented. 16 unethical experiments on human beings on the war crimes. They have done freezing experiment. He just immersed the human being in the container of freezing cold water and made them to freeze. And he want to see when the person is able to, that last point of survival is noted. So the point of immersion and the last point of survival. See this table, you will come to know. The time in water, 6 death happens in 67. And next, 80 minutes in the water, cold water at 6 degrees, and percent death is 87. So this data is tabulated. Whether we will give consent, if anyone has asked us, kindly provide consent. I want to see uh, at what time your death occurs. I just want to dip you inside the water and cold water at what time of death occurs. We will not provide consent. And he never asked for consent also. So that is also the unethical. And mostly whatever happening in present situation, consent is actually a namesake. Consent is there. Consent is not happening. So we should remember whether we are going back to the Nazis human experimentation or not. Seawater experiment. This is also the experiment done by him, the German doctors, under his leadership, Hitler. That time the German has to go to the Russian continent to fight against their enemies. So during their travel, if anything happened to their ship, they should jump into the water and two swimmen has to reach. Or anything happened to their ship, they has to be in the water. So how long they can survey in the water, or how long they can drink only by drinking live by drinking a seawater if they reach any the island. So during that time, Hitler made an experiment that he made the prisoners to drink only chemically processed water, similar to seawater. Actually, seawater, if you take in the lab, it may be foul smelling after a few days. So he chemically processed water. He make the victims to drink morning 2 glass water, example like afternoon 3, and again night remaining 2 glass. So a person may die maybe 5 days or 6 days. And the pitiable situation is when they mop the floor, some fresh water might be there. So person from the couch, they will come to the floor, started licking the floor. That is the pitiable situation. See how he treated the human. They are also fellow human as at us, similar to us. But unethically, how the research is done. The concept is good, but the research is done in an unethical way. And high altitude, the same thing. When they are traveling in the fighter aircraft, if anything happened to the aircraft, they should eject from the cockpit. So they have to be in the atmosphere with a high altitude with low pressure. So what happened? Which organ is affecting first? He wanted to. He found brain and lungs swell, and thereby death result. So that organ can be targeted and prevent from the death. But he experimented the war crimes in the high altitude chapter. Same simulated experiment is done, and no consent, and he never worried about that. And other experiment, live dissection of 1 year old, and he made a pregnant woman to stand and made her to deliver. And Hitler, we can tell, the pioneer of a painless surgery, or sorry, the painless delivery. At present, the painless delivery happening inside the water, but he made the pregnant woman to deliver the child by standing in the land. By that, the fetus might die by not able to survive. And he never asked the consent, and he took all the war victim for this purpose. And he even performed castration, removal of internal organ, lumbar puncture, amputation without anesthesia. At that time, anesthesia is the costliest the medicine. He never worried about that. The Morgan discovered, considered as a father of anesthesia and costliest medicine. He never worried. And live dissection of 1 year old. Dissection will be that when the person is not living the dissection we do to learn, but live dissection, even head injury experiment. See, these are the examples of unethical practice which no human being will allow to provide consent, and he never worried about the consent. And we are using the helmet now. For that helmet, how many head the helmet would have taken? It is not only the helmet history only knows. Because for devising the helmet, what he have done, he made a person to sit in a chair and made him a the chamber where the pressure will be keep on increasing. At one point, it will start with 5 kg, 10 kg. At what pressure the skull will rupture or fracture, it want to know. Because he want to develop a helmet more than the fracture or the collapsing capacity of the lungs he want to devise. So he made the person to sit and he start experimenting. If anyone asks us, we want to do such experiment, kindly provide consent. We will not able to ready to provide consent, and he never worried about that. So this is also the unethical practice happened in the history. And at the end, Nuremberg Code has come, Nazis doctor trial, and Hitler's biggest blunder. So even though he's a good orator, dictator, he done a blunder because of research in the scientific or the medical research. His name is still a black mark. And again, this is at the end of First World War. German became superpower. They done a mistake. And at the end of Second World War, US became superpower. Even they done a mistake. I think you would have heard about Tuskegee syphilis experiment study. Okay, what they have done, 1932 to 72, the study happened. Actually, they want to see the natural progression of untreated syphilis. The study happened in the Tuskegee Institute, Alabama, USA. As the study happened in the place where majority of people are white, the study should involve the population of white people also. But none of the participants in the study are white. All are black uh, race people. So racial discrimination is there. And again, they want to attain the sample size 600 people with syphilis. They have found only 399. So remaining people were not told that 399 people have got syphilis. They were allowed to mingle with them. So other people also were got syphilis. So they were not treated and they were not told what they got a disease. So we should not do such a research. What is the problem you got? We should inform them and we should continue. And during that time, the penicillin became the standard treatment during the course of the study at 1947, but it was withheld from them. When the study started, no medicine. So the study continued. They want to see the natural progression of untreated syphilis, and only the doctors provided vitamin tablets to them. So their body act as a culture medium. So they are uh, the syphilis pathogens start multiplying in the body, and it courses they able to identify primary, secondary, tertiary syphilis, even sensory ataxia, whatever the problem, what all the information we got related to the syphilis we got from this study. But the study is done in unethical way. The human is exploited for the benefit of future generation. The present people were exploited. And one more important thing is justice. Justice were not given to them. It is unethical. As per if you see the justice, both the white and black people to be involved in the study, because even both were susceptible to get the disease, but only black were involved. So we should not perform research to only one community, or who are economically downward, who are not able to raise their voice to that person alone. We should not involve them in the research. We should involve both wealthy and economically downward people also. So they involved only economically downward people. Little upper wealthy people were not involved in the research. And it was told to the world after 40 years, 1932 to 1972, the study continued. And in most of the newspaper, they displayed most arguably infamous biomedical research study in US history. And even for the apology, it was given to them after 25 years. The study ended 1972, but they were given apology after 25 years, 1997. I think you know about US President Bill Clinton. He told, I am sorry. So even for telling sorry, they have took nearly 25 years for telling sorry. So these are the unethical practice from the history, and there is a protection is there. Nuremberg Code, Declaration of Geneva 1948, Helsinki Declaration initially 1964, and later it was revised at present 7th revision at 2013. Then Belmont report as 1978, ICMR has started in 1980. At present, these are the two important information we should know. In our India, we have national ethical guidelines for biomedical and health research involving human participants. We should spend time to read about these information. Very valuable informations are there. And World Medical Association Declaration of Helsinki, seventh revision, and their statement heading is ethical principles for medical research involving human subjects. So we should go through it. 37 points were there. The 37 points are very useful. Each and every point has its own self-explanatory statement. And when we are performing research in India, it should be done according to the ICMR guidelines 2017, National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical and Health Research involving human participants. Regarding consent related information is there. We will discuss about that consent related information. And when we do research should be published. That is a dissipation. That is also our ethical responsibility to publish a research. If we don't publish, we are academically and clinically dead. So both clinically, because it is not only the responsibility of academician to publish, clinical person also. Without clinicians, the academician will not get the data. Without the clinical activity, clinical knowledge, skills, where the academician will get the data. So both should go in hand. Without scientific publication, one practically does not exist in the scientific community. So whatever the research we are performing, it should done in an ethical way, and it should be put in the public platform to the benefit of the mankind, not only to the self benefit for gaining the degree, and it should not be ideally kept in our the library. It should be put in the public platform domain. So during the research, what are the scientific misconduct happening? Unholy trinity. What are they? So Office of Research Integrity had made fabrication, falsification, plagiarism in proposing, performing, reviewing, and reporting research. So we should again look into it during the era of COVID-19 pandemic, whether we involve in these are the unethical practice or not, because unethical things already happen in the history, and we should learn from them. We should not again continue the same thing. And fabrication, making up of data or results and reporting them. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the practical difficulties are there. We may not able to attain the sufficient samples. When we not able to attain the sufficient samples, we should not end up in making up data or results and reporting them. Then we are doing the scientific misconduct, fabrication, and studies simply not performed. This is we may force into this situation, but we should keep in our mind unethical practice. This is a part of unethical practice, misconduct. COVID-19 pandemic end up in or forced to us in this situation. We are not able to perform the studies. Patients are not easily available to put them into research or to involve in them into research. So during the situation, we should not go to this techniques. And the studies artificially inflated in number. We should not increase our study just by making up data. What type of studies to be done, we will discuss. That also we are going to discuss. And we should not simulate as a randomized trial, because a randomized trial it is itself a ocean. It has set of criteria there. First and foremost is randomization. Most of us, we are not performing randomization. It's begin from simple randomization, block randomization, stratified randomization, covariate adaptive randomization, and other techniques such as even unequal randomizations are there. Patient preferred randomization. So these are the randomization techniques available, and this is not inclusive of all. There are many more techniques out there. We should involve or use this technique in our study if we are performing randomized control trial. If not, we should not use the term randomized trial. Most of us, we are not aware of the randomization. We will not do randomization. We just recruit the sample and allot into two groups, whoever we feel. Then that is a non-randomized control trial that will not come under RCT. So this is also unethical practice without our knowledge, without our proper the methodological knowledge we may tend to do. So we should be aware. We should not end up in performing unethical practice. And the data fogging, we can invent new idea, but data should not be invented. Data should be obtained, not invented. Data cooking, discarding data. You feel some data is not suitable to your study, we will avoid the data. No, whatever data to we have obtained, with that we should conclude our studies. And falsification. Next, fabrication. We know it is what we have seen just now. And falsification, it is a practice of manipulating the instrument, research materials manipulated, equipment, changing or omitting data results such that the research is not accurately represented in the research records. So it is different from the fabrication. Fabrication, we are not going to the field, just maybe sitting at one place and we are creating the data. Here we are performing, but we are changing such that we want to fit everyone into our study. If you set as a criteria, the height should be 170 centimeter, but we are getting only 168. So we will change the measuring instrument such that they will fit for our study. So this is also unethical practice. Sometimes because of the not achieving sufficient sample, we should not end up in this on the unethical practice. And data trimming, changing data values so that they better fit. And data torture, we may sometimes torture whatever the data available. Improper exploitation of statistical tests until something or anything emerges statistically significant. We want p less than 0.05. We will never mind whether we are committing the type 1 error or not. We never mind. Type 1 error means we are always want to show both group are different in our experimental study. Even though in reality there is no difference, we want to accept the alternate hypothesis. So that time we may end up in committing type 1 error, but we are not worried. We want to show our result, the difference is there. Because it was fed into our mind, P should be less than 0.05. So that is not in reality. Even it is greater, whatever the research result we obtain, that should be reported as such. And for what purpose we try to do? After all, we want to please our supervisor or guide. Then we may allow to submit our dissertation or the thesis. So, but remember, research should not be done in an unethical way. And plagiarism, I think this is what this was a problem before, but because of the advancement in the software, online software, at present it can be controlled, it can be detected. But fabrication and falsification, only the human or the researcher, if they think they can change. Otherwise, very difficult to detect. Plagiarism can be detected because of the availability of online softwares. We are stealing someone idea and such that it is not our own. Simply to say, failure to acknowledge other colleagues' scientific work, their ideas, language, or data. We may not get time to write. So what we do, whatever that is unpublished work, we try to copy paste. That is also unethical practice, which to be avoided during this COVID-19 pandemic. We may tend to force to. Otherwise, we may think we may not get the our planned academic degree. But these are the things we are resorting because we are not aware about the available the research methodology knowledge. Even if you're not able to get the data, there are many techniques are there. Unequal experimental studies are there. When we look into the experimental study, many types are there. We should see the types and involve in our research. I think this is we all know the definition about a plagiarism. So we will not look into that much in detail. 6 consecutive words are copied, 7 to 11 words are overlapping in set of 30 words. So this is also unethical practice. We may tend to or forced to do because we may not get sufficient information. But again, this to be avoided. Most of the time when we are not able to reach the patient, we are in our home or comfortable zone, we should start writing. So by this, plagiarism can be avoided. And types of plagiarism are there: intentional, uh, unintentional plagiarism, self and accidental plagiarism. So intentional, we can tell blatant plagiarism, patchwork, technical, unintentional, self plagiarism, accidental. We should know about what are the things, because it is itself a big topic. So we will not look into detail, but you should know what are the subtypes of plagiarism, and we'll try to avoid during our research whatever happening in the COVID-19 era, because we may worried about only the patient recruitment is not happening. So due to that, we may not get the peace of mind to do research. So we may end up in resorting to these are the unethical practice. When we resort, then we should remember what are the unethical practice happened in the history that might repeat. So we may look into that also. So this is the same thing. Some will tell, no, don't do plagiarism. It is stealing. Then go ahead. No one will find. But once you do plagiarism, I don't know who you are, but if you plagiarize, we can find with whom you plagiarized, from where it is taken. Easily it can be traced. At present era, it is easy. And again, I emphasize whatever the research we do, we should add in the, we should check whether at least it is index journal, which is in the Scopus. That will be at least a stable platform. And this is also we should look into it. How to find a Scopus journal, LCR journal finder options are there, or Springer journal suggested. You can select and first identify the target journal, then you can proceed sending to them. So this also you should consider when we are research is not only performing. Already we have discussed about fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism, which already we know. And during the COVID-19 era, we may tend to are forced to resort into the unethical practice or scientific misconduct. But we should keep our mind away from that. And there are many research methodological techniques are there to avoid. If you are not able to perform randomization, need not mention randomized control trial. Nothing will be a big serious issue. But you should not mention what we haven't performed. And even first you should find the journal, then whatever the research we are obtained, convert according to the journal. That should be the first and foremost. Then you can prepare writing accordingly. So these are the way Springer journal suggested. Just you can type in the Google and you will go to the site. You'll see a journal finder. Try to find in the stable publisher, not a publisher which opened recently. Stable publisher, Elsevier, or even Springer journal suggested. Then you can go into the site and you will come to know what are the journals suitable for your study. Title and abstract, if you have, you can go ahead and you can select the journal and you can prepare it. And this also you may, because you may force to do false academy, predatory publishing in science and bioethics. And the term actually coined by the Jeffrey Beal, and he was removed from the job at some part of time. But again, he got to the highest position because he only told to the world about predatory journals, and the coin term was coined by him. And potentially predatory journal and publishers are available. You can get from scholarly OA, but at few part of that period, it was removed from the site. But when you type predatory journals, you can go to the site and you can search it. And we should send to the journal which is only the peer review. Without peer review, we cannot credit our work. Without evaluation, we cannot credit. So this also we should look into it, because most of the time during COVID-19, what are the article we are sending, we may not send to the proper peer reviewed journal. We want quick publication, because even many universities or many colleges, they force the faculty members as well as the student. We are not able to attend the colleges. So when we are sitting at our home, we should resort into the research work. So research work actually patient we may not get. So what is only option? What are the available data research we done? We should publish in the journal. So when we are sending to the journal, we will look into the information whether it is peer reviewed or not. Just pay and publish will waste our resources. And peer review it act as a censor board. Without the some limit, whatever we feel we cannot write, it should be validated, and it can be compared as an examiner. When the without examination, without the examiner, the candidate cannot be passed. If it is similar to the publishing without sending to the peer review journal, and it can be act as an interviewer. Peer review will act as an interviewer. So find the peer review journal, then you send it. If no peer review, then it can be compared to exam result, pass, first class distinction without evaluation. So remember, this is also unethical. Right from performing a research and publication, unethical possibilities are there, and more tend to do during COVID-19 pandemic because of the force or our need. We need even some university they adopt a policy. You do publication, and your salary will be credited, or at present might be particular salary will be credited, then later part of the salary will be credited. And they may set a criteria, some standard institution, like one publication, then you can get almost 50% of your salary, two publication, remaining 50% of the salary. And even student can be asked, you do one publication, then part of your sample can be waived. So these are the force on the students. If they want to recruit the sample 30 sample, and one group maybe 15 sample, it's because we generally used to do. So that same example I share, 15 in one group, another 15. They may even tell you do one publication, five samples can be waived off. So we cannot waive the sample as such. And this is also policy adopted at some place. And for the dissertation, even they have internal marks. We have out of certain percentage of marks are there. So publication then it can be added. But during the forceful uh, on them, so they may resort into unethical practice. And even it can be compared to the, if you send to the journal without peer review, then it can be compared to PhD degree without thesis or viva was examination, a job without interview. This is also, it can be compared. And what type of research then we can do during COVID-19 era? You can compare what are the available things. Recently, we have done research like e-rehabilitation, one solution for patient with Parkinson disease. So patient with the Parkinson disease, how we can treat during COVID-19 era? Because they are not in the emergency. They are already undergoing the rehabilitation program. But when we call them to our OPDs, we are putting them into the risk of getting the COVID-19. So during that time, we should actually make them not into the regular, or not into the regular OPD or IPD for treatment. Only emergency, the patients were called. Otherwise, the rehabilitation program should continue at their home. So what are other possible way of continuing the rehabilitation? So even this is also part of research we undertook, and this type of research also can be done at easily, conveniently at your home. We have suggested there are many mobile applications out there. So during that, even the rehabilitation program can continue. And students who are recruiting the patient with Parkinson disease, if they're not able to bring the patient to even the OPD, or they are not able to collect their data, they need not worry. There are many mobile applications. Are there some few examples we have given here, and even you can use the other online mode, such as even the WhatsApp video also can be online supervised rehabilitation. The little modification and title you can do. If we already proposed our study as supervised rehabilitation, a supervised exercise training, supervised balance training in patient with Parkinson disease, if our proposed title is such, and we may not able to call because we are putting them into risk of getting COVID-19. So we will not do such practice. And then how we will attain our sample? So for that, modification can be done in the study design. Supervised training, we can tell the video or online supervised training, or the video based rehabilitation or exercise training. Such term can be used, and the sample can be collected. This is a feasible possibility of collecting or performing research during COVID-19 in case with patient with Parkinson disease. And in similarly, the other where we can supervise online, we can do. We need manual guidance, there might be a problem. But when the set of exercise were already taught to them, who are regularly into the intervention, will not be a problem. They know what are the exercise to be done. So supervision can be done in online instead of calling them regularly to our OPD. or even we are visiting them, we don't know. We might be a carrier because we might be visiting other patients, or we may be attending the even ICU or inpatient. So we might be a carrier. We might take infection to them. And most of the people with Parkinson disease, they are at old age, so they are prone to get infection easier. So this is type of research can be done at easier. Try to do research involve the smartphone based research. And next, even most of the time, I think every email will be flooded with the survey. Survey questionnaires were to send to them, and we are involving them in the research. They act as a research participant. This is the usual research done during COVID-19. Even we have done the research, but we should remember after done the research should be immediately converted into a paper and to put in the public medium. We have done, and this is an example of a research even we have done to the who are our the student research fellow. Even we have asked them just during the COVID-19 as a motivation. We have involved them in the survey, online survey, and see it was sent through WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram messengers, because these are the presently during COVID-19 most of the young adults they use these are the application. This is from again from the research we have found based on the present need. Present need is WhatsApp, Facebook, and the Instagram Messenger they use. And here again, we use the same type of research. This will be more motivating, and even we can tell innovative, make them more interested in performing the research. So when you send our research uh, question or the survey link through these are the medium, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, we may get more responses at easier when compared to email. So we are not resorted to email. Email very rarely we look into it, and the target population if we keep as a adult or see professionals or the student, most of the student population they rarely use email. We have to force them to use, but their regular WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, we should involve some research involving the present trend where it act as a communicating medium. Even we have done, and we have checked the physical activity before and after, just which is already international physical activity questionnaire. It's already a validated questionnaire we have sent to them. And another uniqueness of this type of research is it is a web-based e-survey, and one of the unique we haven't submitted this research proposal for the ethical approval. That is the in reality. See, if you see the method section 2.1, you will come to know we haven't submitted for the ethical approval, but we made sure that other all the component except the ethical, this research adopted. And another uniqueness of this, even the consent was not obtained. So we should be bold enough to tell ethical approval was not obtained. See, if you read, you will come to know it was not submitted for the study was performed according to the principles of Helsinki Declaration and other ethical guidelines. But it was not submitted the, submitted for the ethical clearance, because we know during the COVID-19 pandemic time, most of the ethics committee meetings are not happening regularly. And the study was happened. See, you can see the time we have submitted on the May. That is at the time of peak. Ethics committee it was suspended for nearly 3 to 4 months. So you want to conduct a study without ethics committee? How we can conduct a study? We have to conduct, but we come to know minimal ethical issues were there, and we have started conducting as it is an online survey. And the consent, how we obtain the consent, we haven't mentioned any separate question for consent. If they successfully submit the question, then it is considered as a consent. They have provided the consent, because without their consent, they will not perform each and every. They will not attempt the question. We cannot force them. It is their own wish. So we have circulated the question, and if they wish, they will submit the question. If they don't wish to submit, that means they haven't provided the consent. So once they submitted, that means consent is there. Even if you are not ask consent separately, we should be bold enough to add such statement. See, you can mention a successful return of completed survey was considered as consent by the participant. No separate statement for the consent was asked within the survey questionnaire. Most of us, just as a formality, we ask, but again, we should note them that it can be used for the publication. That statement should be there. But when they submit, that means they have successfully provided their consent. Without their consent, no one will submit. So we haven't asked consent and ethical approval was not obtained, but we should be bold enough to report. When it was peer-reviewed and published, then it became a record. And now you can access the same article in the PubMed also, because COVID-19 related research all are publicly accessible in the database. It is available. PubMed and PubMed Central, it is there. So when we do research, what we do, we should represent as such. We should not mention if we haven't obtained consent, we should not inform them consent was obtained. If we haven't obtained ethical clearance, we should not inform them. See, ethical clearance was not obtained. We should report what it was and try to do a research through which is a present trend among every the common layperson or layman. Even you want to target population young, example, they are most of them use WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Messenger. Use that for research. You will get more response rate. We have achieved more response rate. Our target sample we have achieved here. And even another, see, we initially seen about the COVID-19 the application, mobile application for patient with Parkinson disease. See here again, the use of mobile phone based health application during COVID-19 pandemic. This also we have published. So these are all available in the PubMed as well as Scopus Index journal. You can go through, these are the mobile application available, and try to use the mobile applications. We have selected based on the Google Play Store rating, and this mobile application can be used for the research. And even we can use the Google Duo, Google Meet, Microsoft Team, or WebEx and Zoom. Can be video based rehabilitation, or even group therapy can be used. We can involve them in a group therapy. So if someone performing the research which is related to group therapy, even video-based group therapy, as we conduct a Zoom meeting or Microsoft Team or Google Meet, even the group therapy can be performed. And by this, even any researches happening with group therapy, it can continue without any restriction, but we should change the methodology, online group therapy, online supervised group therapy to be mentioned. And then we can attain sufficient sample. So sample can be, if you feel sample is getting minimized or you're not able to attain sufficient sample, many other possibilities are there. Try to use what is the present trend, what are the other available at your hand, and try to involve that in the research. Then you will attain the sufficient sample. Sample is more important. Without sufficient sample, your research is incomplete. And whatever the resources you obtain from the sample available, that might go waste. So sample size try to attain, only you can use change in the methodology. Instead of calling the patient daily, you can use the online resources if it is possible. Other ways you should change, if you have the two group pre-test post-test test design. If you have, you can resort to only quasi-experimental study design. You need not involve both the group, because at present pandemic, you know the situation, you can minimize the group. So need not come to the both the group. So such modification should be done in the research methodology or the methodological section. Then effective research can be done. And again, what are the challenges? The rural community awareness level, challenges and strategy to adapt to combat COVID-19, a cross-sectional e-survey. This also we have performed. But this we have obtained ethical clearance, and it was survey link was sent. And these are the researchers, whatever now we are discussing, this all in the Scopus database. And the benefit of doing research in during COVID-19, your name will be there, at least something with related to COVID-19. Try to do the research. If you're not done till now, you can involve. And this we checked how our physical activity, yoga, whether they have awareness or not. So regarding that, we have done a survey. And the survey, whatever you do, try to publish in a reputed or the index journal. So already we have seen what are the possibility, how you can change it, the study design to be modified. If you are doing experimental randomized control trial, if you're not able to do randomization, convert into a non-randomized control trial. If you're not able to do even both the group, even one single group, quasi-experimental study design can be adopted. Try to modify the study design, and the sample size is very important. If you're not able to attain the sufficient sample size in both the group, you can minimize one group and only one group. With that, you can continue the study. And again, I want to stress it, in case of the research done for the academic purposes to attain certain degree, post graduation, or even doctorate degree, we are not going to change what happening in the world with our research. It will be just to be a, you are going to get the hands-on practice. But again, for that we should not involve unethical practices. Scientific misconduct should not be performed. No fabrication. If you are not able to collect data, what data you obtain, try to report as such, and do power calculation. And what is the power obtained, you should mention. It can be, it is not the uh, correct method, because priori sample size calculation should be done. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, we may not able to perform attain sufficient sample. In that situation, whatever sample we have obtained, let it continue. And at the end of the study, you can do post hoc power analysis, and you can confirm whether power at least reached 80% or not in case of experiment study. So need not worry. How much ever sample you get, you continue with that. Should not do fabrication, no falsification, no change the research method, or any research material should not be manipulated, and at last the no fabrication, plagiarism, because we may not get time. Most of time, we may be mentally stressed in search of sample, so we may not get piece of time in writing the information or the methodology section, discussion and introduction, which is very difficult task. Discussion and introduction for comparing, searching with other article. When we're not able to get time in writing this section, we tend to resort to the plagiarism. That to be avoided during COVID-19 era. Again, try to avoid publication pollution by predatory journals. Instead of that, better not to publish. Should not resort to the predatory journals. These are only benefit of their publisher, not benefit to the community. They may be in Scopus today. Tomorrow they may not be in Scopus. They may vanish from the Scopus database. Even the issue can happen when you are pursuing for your doctoral program, PhD. If when you publish the article in the Scopus Index journal as a part of your requirement, and when you're going to submit your dissertation thesis for the evaluation, and that time when you check whether the journal is in Scopus, no, it will vanish. So in your Scopus record, you may not find the journal. So again, your submission will be delayed. You have to wait. So better don't submit to the journal which is recently indexed in Scopus, and they don't have any the stable the history of staying in Scopus for long duration. That type of journal to be avoided, because at particular time they will be in Scopus. When you want to submit for your degree, they will not be in Scopus. So your article will be removed from the Scopus database. That is happened. Even the present situation happened, and we are facing for some of our students. They are not able to send their thesis for evaluation, because some university they put a requirement two publication in Scopus, so that one publication is removed. So again they want to wait to get another publication. So these are why happening, because they are hurry in publishing, paying and publishing. Pay and publishing is a crime. And this is a reason, it's not a recent, this is almost 3 years old research, but we should be feeling shame for this. See, India is the highest among predatory open access journal in rehabilitation. India is the highest. India can be highest in the research, highest in other activity. When the Olympic or such event happening, we can be the we can get the gold medal. But US get gold medal most of the time. And now here we overtake USA. In where? In predatory open access journal, predatory open access in rehabilitation journal. We are the topper. So we actually should feel shame for that. Because of our hurry and personal benefit, we resort to unethical practice. So unethical practice is not only conducting research, even at the end, how we project our work. When we publish our work in pay and publish, that means it shows how our research work is. We are not sincere in sending our work to worthy journals. That confirm your research is not done in an ethical way. When we wait and publish our research in the worthy proper index journal, then it shows the credibility of our research work. And more details about predatory journals you can gain from that. And credible journals, yes, it take time, revision, peer review, again revision. At last it can go for rejection also. But once you publish, it will be there forever, everlasting memory. But predatory journals, short-lived, and it can disappear. Greetings, we adore your research, but they who only they will adore. Other person it may not be accessible. So with this, we'll end our topic today for discussion: the ethical research in physiotherapy during COVID-19 pandemic. And as a short 30 seconds, I just want to go through few important things which we've seen before, which is the possibility of performing. I think we have gone through this again. I want to highlight and finish it. E-rehabilitation is a possible and feasible way doing COVID-19 pandemic in physiotherapy, as well as try to use the recent trend in also in research like WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram Messenger for conducting any survey. You will get high response instead of communicating through email, and use mobile application what are available, and try to change the study design. And I thank IFP Delhi for providing the opportunity. If queries can be, yes, yes, I am very happy to see the query.
Thank
According
you,
to the
Doctor.
ICMR guide, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, please carry on.
Yes, sir. According to the ICMR guideline, all research have to be approved by ethics committee, and it is not a choice. It is mandatory. Hence, ethical committee clearance is mandatory for all human research during COVID-19 times. Ethical committee meetings happen online. Therefore, I do not think it is justified to omit. Yes, sir. Even we agreed with that, and really, it is a good point to be discussed. Even I have come across the this type of question when I published this research, but we waited for the ethics committee. Ethics committee meeting actually not happened. So we have done the research and we made the same content. We haven't fabricated, or we haven't any false. Whatever we performed, we actually projected to the journal, such that ethics committee meeting is not we not submitted for the ethical approval, and but we assure other whatever the thing to be happened, it has happened according to the guidelines. Such that we not violated. We waited for their uh, opinion. And again, I want to tell, if we wait for the ethics committee during this time, we stressed, but practically it is not happened. But if we wait for the research, that COVID-19 might disappear. The peakness of the COVID-19 might come down. So we conducted the research, and as it is approved by the peer reviewer and the editor, so we think this also might be the possible for the present, might be a solution. We not tell this is the correct to best of our knowledge, as it is accepted by the peer reviewer as well as the editor, and now it is in the PubMed index journal, might be opening. If we not able to achieve that goal, then we may not suggest, as we able to have one publication in similar way, and we are open, we are transparent in our research work. Whatever we have done, we have projected as such. So can be an option. Thank you for this wonderful question, because this is really uh, to be discussed. And even I get the same type of reply when I share this research in the Facebook. And I openly suggested them to write a letter to the editor. Okay, that is also can be considered as a publication. And most people, they only share their few opinion in Facebook and they disappear. And maybe they may not aware about the letter to editor option or the correspondence option. Whatever they feel, It should be discussed in the scientific community. Facebook is just a sharing medium. They are discussing only few period it made that, and later if they delete the post, it will disappear. So it should be forever. It is open to write a letter to reader. Even I am very happy to write a reply to this because it should be discussed. Even I am wondered when our paper get accepted. Even I wondered. I mentioned it is ethically we not submitted for the ethical approval. Actually, we use the word very carefully. It is not ethically approved because if we submit for the ethical approval, we might get approved. But ethical committee meeting is not happened during the time April May, because we submitted the paper during the May, and the April I think the lockdown initial phase, but we want to continue the study during that time. So that is only the solution, and we transparent in our research, and we have projected. So people who are doing the research during COVID-19 might take as a reference, because once it is in the public medium, PubMed and the Scopus Syntax Journal, this can act as a citable reference. Might be. Okay. And thank you. If a few more queries, I'm very happy. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but then I think this should be restricted to what if we are doing research related to COVID-19, but not all researchers in COVID-19, because many of our master students, PhD students must be doing researches on other topics. So they have to make it clear that for them, they need to take the ethical clearance. But since during the COVID, as you said, it might disappear. So maybe we can take it as an exception. And for how long it will remain an exception, we are not sure. So
Yes,
it would
yes.
be always be better to go for the ethical, but definitely, as in your case, since it happened at the peak of the time, so definitely you were given that exception. But another one of my queries,
And
when we
really,
are collecting
yes, ma'am.
information on the Google Forms, right? So because when I discuss with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
ethical committee in our hospital, they always want that we should have a consent for that also. So should there be a separate consent form, or a question like a first question itself could be like you give consent for the study, that would suffice for this thing, for clearance from ethical committee?
Uh, uh, yes, that would suffice, madam. As you tell, the first question can be the consent. You agree or disagree. If you disagree, then it should go to the option thank you and the survey will end. You will not go for the collecting the survey, because in Google form we can you can change the like the response. If agree, then next it will start collecting the response. If no, it should end. Thanks for your interest. And before that consent, you should elaborate what are the what reason you're going to for what reason you are performing the survey, what is the aim, and what are things you're going to collect. That should be explained before the consent, might be in the when opening of the survey link. And then have you whether do you agree for this survey, yes or no. If yes, then they should go to the next question. So that will suffice, because separately it will make the documentation work actually, but practically it will be a difficult, and they will lose interest. If you separate form or separate link, they want to sign
Right.
it, and they may not participate. Feasibility may not be there. And again, I want to add, as it minimal risk is involved, they might be publish the work, because we done only a survey. If really involving human people in the research, so ethics committee might be mandatory. As it is only happened through online, and we are not asking them to do anything. Already whatever they done, we ask their opinion. And again, we use the word in ICMR guidelines, when there is minimal risk is there, consent can be waived off. We use that point, because in ICMR, most of us we are not reading the line by line of the ICMR guidelines. If there the points are there, consent can be waived off, so we can use the same thing. And again, many textbook they argue. Some textbook they says, even recently the botany textbook they use the word for the survey consent is mandatory. But if ICMR we says the when minimal risk is there, but risk it depend upon the situation also. So as I'm not against ethics committee. Ethics committee is mandatory. It should be a open to discussion. Without ethics committee, research should not happen. Then the Helsinki Declaration itself, we are against it. No, not. Research ethics committee is mandatory. It will protect human being to for the exploring for the personal benefit. Second question, as physiotherapy is most based on manual contact therapy, but during COVID-19 practice is stopped and changed the way of practice like e-rehabilitation. What is our opinion towards e-rehabilitation? Is again that the manual contact will be less, and this is the only the time being, not a permanent one. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, research should continue and even our rehabilitation should continue. So what is the option? Only to resort to the e-rehabilitation. Otherwise, the patient also will be ideal, and we may not also involved in the rehabilitation work. So the option is e-rehabilitation, whatever the smartphone we have in our hand. This is now this become the magic wand, what are we having in our hand. In this, whatever possible, we should involve, such that we are not ideal and patient is also not ideal. But it cannot replace the human touch. Human touch value cannot be replaced, but we are sure it is a time being. When the situation become normal, then we should resort to the regular, our conventional practice. Yes, I think people really, they are interested. They are discussing, and I think I missed one question. I will read it. I don't think filling up questionnaire can replace the consent form, as the consent form is not only used to submit data but also to use the data and publish it. Yes, this I agree. And in the introduction part, before filling the before starting to the survey questionnaire, the option can be the information to be added. The survey details might be used in the research publication or can be stored as a dissertation in the library. So such information can be given. If they agree, then they go. But we actually haven't given the option agree or disagree, because if they start filling, that means they have agree with that. Without we haven't made them to fill the survey in front of us, because it is already understood. If they start filling the question, that means they agree with that. If not, they would not have filled the question. We may not respond, we may not receive the complete or filled in questionnaire. So that also, that point we have mentioned in the publication, because little we want to go what traditionally happened, and we want to mention whatever we have done, and we are not against with the ethical practice, but this can be done, because sometimes more elaborate documentation work will prevent them in participating in the research. To minimize that, this can be used. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Asir John Samuel, sir, for such an exemplary explanation on the topic. Sir, I have also received few queries, so I want to ask them.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
sir, my the first query is that should researches, that is non-COVID researches, even be prioritized during these times, during this COVID time?
Yes, sir. Non-COVID research, which is already proposed and accepted and it is ongoing, should continue. And even non-COVID related research, it has to happen. But we should take what are the preventionary measure that should maintain, and that can be mentioned detailedly. Because as it is happening to the COVID-19 era, these things can be mentioned in our procedure, then we can continue. Because prevention to be there, and maybe the social contact, whatever we are, the social distancing is there. At some situation, it is unavoidable, but we should the mask. We should make the patient also to wear. We are also, when we coming into the within the 2 meter distance, we are again will be at a risk, and we should outweigh the risk, whether it can be done in contactless or other mode, then we can resort into that. If other mode is not there and we are involving, then like even sanitizing the hand and other procedure, we can do it. Then we can continue.
Thank you, sir. Sir, next question, next query is, should ethical guidelines be readdressed during this pandemic times?
Yes, sir. This is also very important thing to be discussed. Ethical, even the ethical committee decision or the ethical guidelines can be revised such that it will allow more research to be happen. Or even we discuss about the ethics committee meeting, which can uh, done or which can happen online. But if it is not happen, some guidelines to be made such that it will not stop the research work, and they should be open to allow modification in the proposed research, because the research design would have proposed maybe a year later, or even the before the COVID, the research design would have accepted. But during the pandemic, modification required. So ethics committee should be open and welcoming to accept the changes. So such things should happen, and then research will continue in unethical way. Other ways, the unethical practice we can't avoid. If they are very rigid in the guidelines, they are not open to revise it, then we can't control. Some may end up in fabricating and falsification. We may involve or we may inform our students we need at least 60 samples. Where they will go for 60 samples, they will end up, they will go to the hostel or their PG or their home comfortably. They will sit in the place and they will start imagining the patient name, imagining the age, weight, height, and fabrication will start. So modification and the revision should be allowed. Then research will be done in the ethical way. So
Thank you,
ethics
sir.
committee is yes, the ethics committee is a backbone that to be strengthened, and should be also flexible in terms of conducting research during COVID-19, but made sure unethical practice or where risk is involved. So research should be done with little caution.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the explanation of our queries. First and foremost, I thank our special guest, Dr. Asir John Samuel, who, despite his busy schedule, found time to grace this occasion. I thank you IIPCC team to provide this kind of platform for continuous education. I thank to Dr. Vinod Kaushik and complete technical team to helping us to make this event successful. And I also express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Pooja Sethi ma'am, Dr. Zubia Wakar ma'am, Dr. Deepak Malhotra sir, and the complete team of DIAP for their valuable contribution. Last but not the least, I thank you, my friend, for your cooperation and patient listening and make this event resounding success. Once again, I thank you all for the attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you,
Thank,
IIP Delhi, for providing this opportunity. And thank you, Pooja ma'am and Asif sir and other uh, senior panelists who are there during the presentation. Thank you.
thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Pooja Sethi. Thanks, Delhi IIP team. And thanks, Dr. Asir sir and Dr. Asir for organizing such a wonderful webinar. I just request everyone, please subscribe IIP India YouTube channel. I just shows again my gratitude to our Dr. Sanjeev Keja, IIP President, and Dr. Ruchi Vashnai, IIP Women's and National Head, for providing us this platform. Thanks, everyone.